Hello everyone, my name is Douglas Sager and I was diagnosed with probable CMT type 2 by Professor Riley when I was 62. So I was kind of lucky really, wasn't I? So progression was very slow, but I did have unrecognized symptoms for quite a few years before the diagnosis. I did have an active lifestyle, including lots of dancing. So I often put down the cramps, the pins and needles, wobbly legs, stiffness, fiery feet, debilitating fatigue. I put it down to just enjoying the dancing a little too much. But now I'm a fully paid up member of the Wobblies, so here I am. I'd love to spend another 15 minutes talking about me, but instead I'm going to talk about the CMT UK charity film, working title, Indiana Doug and the CMT Crusade. You'll get the reference when you see my hat and jacket. Everyone calls me either Indiana Jones or Crocodile Dundee, so it seemed to fit. And I prefer Indiana Doug. The pictures you see behind me are from the live action sequence from the film, which we did about a month ago. So after my retirement in 2014, I did struggle a little with my health and motivation. I'd been working with disabilities half my life, people with disabilities in social care services, and I have mental health and learning disability in my family, so I could hardly feel sorry for myself for too long. Well, the first thing that galvanized me, got me off my arse and into action was what we can all agree is the lack of awareness of CMT. Across the board, clinical missioning groups, GP surgeries, social care professionals, alternative practitioners, etc. And of course, the public at large. We've heard people recount, what experiences of, from the public. And I've lost count the number of times my friends, family, colleagues, etc. said, "What is that thing you've got again?" So I had a look at YouTube videos, lots of wonderful short films, CMT kids, people live with CMT, and I watched some Q&As with Professor Riley. But I just felt in this social media digitalized world that something else was needed. I mean, you know what it's like, flicking through Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, information and entertainment overload. Click on something, give it a half a minute, a few seconds, click on to the next thing. So you've got to catch people's attention. Something short and snappy, humorous, visually eye-catching, and it told you what CMT is and what its effects are, but didn't require a long attention span. Something that people might take the time out to actually watch right through. So I had the idea initially to make a raise awareness film based on the Monty Python Silly Walk sketch. I don't know if many of you know that. It was, just to catch people's attention, and when we walk around here together, we notice we've all got the same silly walk. We have to have not to take too seriously. It's just who we are. So I wrote a script. I talked to Karen about it, and I talked to a few CMT people here last year. And they all thought it was a great idea. Karen thought it was a great idea and was well up for it. So I felt empowered to have a go at writing something. So I wrote a kind of scenario script around, the funny walk sketch. But before that, sorry, I skipped ahead. Karen took the concept to the trustees, the idea of a silly walks, raising awareness, or humorous, will catch people's attention, get noticed on all the social media and everything. But the trustees, quite rightly, said, well, I didn't want to risk any money. It was just an idea in my head, and with a dodgy script, as well, from me. So, they didn't toss it aside, but, it was they weren't prepared to pay for it, let's put it that way. So I started writing letters and emails to various people, including Michael Palin and John Cleese, and their agents, and I contacted the London Film and TV School via an application, a film proposal, and got 3 responses. And one was from a talented recent graduate from the London Film School called Tim Partridge. And he sent me first of all, he'd done his research before he called me, and he also sent a link to his graduation film, I think it was, where he won an award, and it was called A Human Race, and it was very good, very professionally made. So anyway, Tim came on board, and since then, that gave it the green light. Tim stuck with it through everything. And here we are at the point of not quite a finished product, but it will be finished hopefully sometime in May. So anyway, so we had a filmmaker and no money. So I decided I'd have to raise the money myself. You know, I didn't realize how tough that was going to be. I naively thought it was such a good idea, you know, my ego at the forefront there, that it would be no problem. So I set up a Just Giving page and off I went. Wrote a blurb about CMT, how it affected me and others, and the reasons why I wanted to make a raise awareness film, and out into the ether it went. I sent it to all my friends, family, former work colleagues, posted it on CMT Facebook sites, and so on, more than once. I mean, I felt really uncomfortable doing it. It's the most difficult thing that I've ever done. One of the most difficult things I've ever done was to ask lots and lots of people to give money. After all, it wasn't something, you know, you did a leap of faith. It was abstract, you know. It wasn't like, you know, abseiling down the post office tower or running the marathon, which, by the way, John Barton is doing shortly, and he still has a Just Giving page open. He's not here, unfortunately, today, but I urge you to donate to John if you can. And he's also, if you live in London, in the London area, please support John and join him for a mile or two if you can, and cheer him on at the marathon. Anyway, back to the film. I didn't have a track record in making films. You know, I understand if people might think it would be a waste of money, of time, it could be rubbish, it won't make any difference. It was a terrible idea. There's loads of films about CMT, etc., you know. So it took a leap of faith, I felt. And I had no idea how much work would be involved. It was only going to last, you know, a couple of minutes or so. And I lost count of how many emails I sent. I didn't count the phone calls. And I know I bombarded Karen with phone calls and emails, bless her. And I loved every minute of it, in spite of the stress. And I struggled with my lack of confidence and insecurities. But I just kept going and stayed determined. So far, the site has raised $4,000, including gift aid. And I'd like to thank everyone from CMT UK very much for, you know, who donated. I know it's difficult for people in these, you know, it's difficult times, especially, you know, at the moment with, you know, what's going on with, which people have mentioned, you know, all the different difficulties with benefits and so on. I also contacted numerous orthotic companies, disability stores, and tried to find sponsors for the film. One of the first people I contacted was Tracy Annandale at Dorset Orthopedics, and she immediately was quite enthused by the idea, and you know, I said I'd send her information as it came up, you know, about the film. Since that call, actually, Dorset Orthopedics have stuck with the project throughout, and they've donated £2,000 to the film. So I want to thank Tracy and Dorset Orthopedics for, you know, that donation, which meant that the film, there was enough money to make the film, basically. However, going back to my bright idea of the Funny Walk film, it did raise some controversy because some people kind of misunderstood it, I felt, because it seemed to be poking fun at people with CMT. So Tim called me, the filmmaker Tim called me with another idea, which included animation and live action combined, would be visually exciting, short and snappy, and would last about 60, 90 seconds, and the film will tell the viewer visually and with voiceover what CMT is and what are its effects. Anyway, so Tim has stuck with the project through thick and thin, and it should be noted that until recently, Tim wasn't paid any money until we started actually filming a few weeks ago. He hadn't been taking any money from CMT. And during this period, Tim even managed to enlist the support of Professor Riley to oversee the clinical accuracy. And this is another big bonus for CMT UK. It means the film can go to clinical commission groups, consultants, health and social care practitioners, alternative practitioners. I mean, they're important as well because many people use them to support the self-management of CMT. And if they've got prior knowledge of CMT, even if it's a basic prior knowledge, that, you know, it will support the correct therapeutic intervention. So reflexologists, as well as physios, chiropractors, acupuncturists, and so on. And also people that Pilates and yoga. A lot of people use Pilates and yoga as well. Anyway, we were initially hopeful of premiering the film. Sorry, I'll actually use that word at the conference, but couldn't get it done in time. But we did film the live-action sequences. And I was asked to find some CMT volunteers, and you're seeing the stills from the film being above my head there, I believe. So I'm just want to special thanks to the fantastic volunteers, including Emma and Val, who are sitting over there, I believe. I just hadn't seen them all day, but I think that. And Adele Kinnear, Harvey, and age 10, and his mum, Lisa Rogers, Meg Duff, and our former trustee, Jane Bevan. It was a very long day, and it got very wet and very cold. And as Adele so aptly put it, paraphrasing our motto, together we are freezing. So the next step is digital animation. On completion, the film will illustrate the internal nerve deterioration of our CMT volunteers, also showing the variable rate of progression. These range from a 10-year-old boy, Harvey, with minor nerve damage, his mother, Lisa, who has a typical CMT walk, Emma, who is 18 and in a wheelchair, and me, who's sort of the older person, or Indiana Doug, I prefer that. From these live-action figures, we then transition into a stylized X-ray effect. Forgive the technical, I hope it's a bit technical, but I think it kind of says what the film is going to look like. So we transition into a stylized X-ray effect in which only nerves can be viewed, thus representing all human beings as bodies of nerves. This X-ray effect is being realized via computer-generated imagery and digital compositing. The film was photographed in a tree-covered park during winter, so the bare roots and branches of the trees will lend to this visual motif of nerves as well. And the film was shot using a big lens. You can see the camera. The camera was massive with a big lens. I mean, it just shows how professional the filmmaker Tim is. This enabled very close photography of the CMT people from afar, unobtrusively, and also allows a depth of field of the camera to separate the human beings from their scenic backgrounds and with limited camera movement. This makes it easier for the computer graphic people to overlay the animation, but keep things very visually interesting and painterly. That's Tim's word. It also means the audience focus goes entirely on the people with CMT. So at the moment, this 3D CGI animation is being added by someone very experienced. When this is done, we will then send the link to celebrities we are contacting and we are hopeful may do the voiceover. And as I said, it will be clinically accurate and will be suitable for health and social care professionals, as well as the general public. I've already started contacting clinical groups in my local area. And my local MP, and I'm going to hold her to this, when I met her a few months ago, I said, when the film's made, she's going to show it in Parliament. So I'm determined, I'm on her case about that. So, and we can combine that with, like with muscular dystrophy, you know, you hire a committee room, you get other people with disabilities who are in Parliament and the Lords, and we can have a talk about CMT and a Q&A about CMT and so on. So that's another way forward. And I'm also planning the link can go to news agencies, BBC, Sky, etc., as a precursor to saying, can we come on and talk about CMT? You know, it's a very, you know, it's only take them, they can show it, it's a minute long, they can show it, and then somebody can talk about their experiences with CMT. And so, of course, the link will be sent to, be on the CMT UK website, it will be sent to all the members with, you know, members of the CMT UK. And, you know, I would urge you to forward the link to your family and friends, but also to any any people in your professional people in your area, GPs, local health, social care professionals, alternative practitioners, and so on. I had some contact with the Association of Reflexologists. I got some free treatment, actually, and they're going to put the link on their website. And a few of them actually donated to the film. So as far as I'm concerned, and I think CMTU are concerned, I mean, the finish of the film is actually the end of the beginning. You know, the point of the film is to get it out there. It's, you know, it's quick, it's easy to watch. It'll be visually, you know, as I say, visually exciting. And hopefully, if you can, the more we get it out there, the less there'll be misdiagnosis, and the awareness will be raised, so that people coming behind us will be it'll help. I realise there's a lot of raise awareness films, and people have done a lot of work and raised a lot of money, and I'm not trying to say that this will make, who knows how much difference it will make ultimately, but it's my attempt, because I think it's really important to raise awareness of this disease. So, I mean, ultimately, the film's function is to be a commercial for CMT and CMT UK, and to raise the profile of this charity, and maybe we'll get more members, and then we'll get more money, and then we'll get more research, and then we'll become as well known as some of the neurological diseases that everyone's heard of. So that's why I'm making the film. Thank you very much.